Everybody is talking about WWE and AEW these days, and rightfully so. The products are absolutely tremendously hot right now. Both companies are delivering some really good television. But today we got some wrestling news, and we're going to talk about this idea that WWE and AEW could work together because, well, Tony Khan is talking about it. We also got other news stories, so I will have timestamps in the description down below. I want to kick things off with the Pitch Black match. You may have watched my video the other day where I talked about WWE confirming plans for a Cinnamon Toast Crunch match, and yes, there's a lot of different responses that I'm getting on that video, and rightfully so. I think everybody has the right to be somewhat concerned when WWE introduces the idea of doing another sponsored match. Now, a couple things I do want to point out. Is that match going to include Bray Wyatt? I think that's a really good question, and there is no confirmation on that, but I don't think WWE's plan is to have Bray Wyatt wrestle in these gimmick matches that are sponsored matches. But two, I think it's really important for me to stress the importance as to why WWE is going to do this and why they actually should do this. Now, again, there's a difference between good business decisions because of money, and then there's a difference between that, and then, of course, the business decisions that you make to please your fans. And realistically, this is where it kind of becomes a double-edged sword. For those who don't know, the Pitch Black match generated over $1 million+ in just advertising revenue for that one match, and that is absolutely huge when you consider all things involved. Now, WWE Royal Rumble was one of the highest viewed Royal Rumbles of all time. It had the highest grossing gate of all time. I mean, the overall interest in the Royal Rumble was very significantly high. And of course, WWE has been setting records ever since Triple H came into power. These pay-per-views are exciting. It's got a hot crowd. A lot of people are enjoying these pay-per-views, and therefore companies are going to want to take advantage of this. And sponsors like Snickers or Skittles or M&M's or whatever it may be, these companies may definitely want to advertise because Mountain Dew definitely saw a benefit from doing so. Well, technically Pepsi Company. But my point that I'm making is WWE doing these sponsored matches is going to make WWE great money, and it's almost effortless. But at the same time, too, they are definitely opening the door to criticism from fans, and I think it's really important that WWE handles this in a more intricate fashion, because if they don't, then you are going to get blowback from fans. So what does a Cinnamon Toast Crunch match actually look like? I hope it's nothing to the extent of Pitch Black, but also at the same time, too, WWE will have to put that stamp on that match to promote the brand. And I could see WWE doing it more often, as I've said before, but it's really important to understand why WWE is doing it and why they got to be very careful while doing it. Guys, I want to talk about Batista. There's a lot of talk about Batista this year. Obviously, this guy's been absolutely killing it in Hollywood. Now he's speaking publicly with an interview of comicbook.com in regards to being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. He says that he hopes he is, but he can't say for sure. He says that he is trying. And, you know, this is great news. The good news also, too, is that there's a lot of reports that actually indicate that Batista could very well become part of the WWE Hall of Fame this year. And it makes a lot of sense with WWE bringing the Hall of Fame to Los Angeles for WrestleMania season. WWE doing the Hall of Fame, bringing in Batista, it does make a lot of sense, especially because literally he has gone Hollywood. And surprisingly, he has succeeded with it. And, you know, the thing is, a lot of people are talking about this new movie, Knock at the Cabin. I am not one to watch scary movies or horror movies or anything like that, but a lot of people have brought this up to my attention. I saw the trailer, and I'm actually really intrigued to see what it's like. You know, I think Batista could play, you know, he could play interesting characters, you know, that are comedic or whatever, but this is, I think, something that's going to be really cool to see because it's Batista in a whole different light. Also, too, I just think WWE put him in the Hall of Fame. Forget about Hollywood. Forget about the fact that he went Hollywood in general. Look at what Batista accomplished in the WWE. He's been absolutely successful in the WWE, and I definitely think that he should be one of the Hall of Famers here. Now, will WWE induct bigger names than Batista this year? I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a very star-studded Hall of Fame, and it might bring a little bit more credibility back to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, an announcement has not been made yet, but it is important to understand that if Batista is inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, I think it's not because of the fact that he became famous after the fact. I think it's because of the fact that he had such a great in-ring career. And I don't know if he gets a lot of credit for that from wrestling fans, especially on the internet, but I do think people gotta, kind of look into that and just realize he's more than just an actor these days. I mean, that history will never leave him. Guys, I want to talk to you about the Usos. This is where things get really interesting. So the Usos, a lot of people are speculating, how are the Usos going to screw over Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber? On SmackDown last night, we saw it was officially confirmed that Sami Zayn will verse Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber in Montreal. Well, now there's a little bit of backstage news in regards to the Usos that makes everything a little bit interesting. So we have a very, very interesting situation here. Well, everybody is kind of familiar with the DUI situation in regards to the Usos. Now, there is this belief that Jey Uso can get into the country, but Jimmy can't get into the country. Now, logically speaking, based on the storytelling, we are not talking about Jimmy Uso leaving the bloodline. We're talking about Jey Uso leaving the bloodline. So I don't think WWE is necessarily going to have the Usos turn on Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. In fact, what I think will actually happen is Solo Sikoa will definitely beat the hell out of Sami Zayn, and then perhaps on the next Raw or SmackDown after, that's when you officially complete the build, or the start of the build, for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to verse Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. This is actually a really interesting time because WWE, and I said this on my SmackDown live show with Omer Q from Real Take Wrestling. Guys, if you missed my live streams, make sure you check them out. But I talked about how Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn are two hot baby faces. This is amazing. WWE has very two hot baby faces that are like, that could really compete against Roman Reigns. Just really good storytelling altogether. But I did say it could lead to a problem for Cody Rhodes. If you guys missed that live stream, definitely check it out. But if the Usos can't be in Canada because of the DUI history, this is where it's going to be really interesting to see how WWE goes. But don't have these expectations that they will both be there, because there is a very likely chance that they won't. And how WWE pulls it off without Jimmy is very interesting, because Jey is the one who left them, and he's the one who could apparently go to Canada. Jimmy isn't, but Jimmy's the one who has been stuck with the bloodline. I think you get what I'm going for, but nonetheless, let me know what you guys think about that. And guys, for our final story of today's video, we are going to talk about it. Tony Khan talking about WWE and AEW working together. So this was really interesting. He says, who knows? It's something I would certainly be open to, and I think it's an interesting thing for the future. It's not something that's ever really been done. They've kind of existed in their own space. We are working with a lot of wrestling promotions, and at times they've done stuff like that. But it would be really interesting. It would be a really interesting thing to see at some point. Now, keep in mind, he does go on to say that it's very unlikely. He says it's unlikely the two companies will be partnering anytime soon. Basically, what Tony Khan says is, I think it's like Marvel and DC. You don't see those superheroes really crossing over that much. I think there'd be a lot of jostling for who's going to be positioned stronger. It's going to get very political. And I do agree. I think WWE and AEW working together is such an interesting topic. It's not something that we just talked about for the first time. We've talked about it multiple times because Triple H has spoken out about it. WWE has spoken out about it. You know, if it makes sense, if it makes business sense. Tony Khan in the past used to be open to it. Then throughout time, he kind of closed his mind on it. I think at this point in time, just as a fan, there's so many great matchups to see, but deep down inside, I think Tony Khan is absolutely right. I think it will get very political, and that is very unfortunate. Who's the next AEW star to cross over into WWE? That's a really good question to ask, because that could start a new wave of dream matches. My pick is Ricky Starks, but I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below.